Good morning. My name is Willie Lawson. This is Fight Back. Fight Back is a flagship program of Fight Back Media Group. Fight Back Media Group can be found on the internet at www.fightbackmedia.com. Today's program is about urban America and education. You know, we could talk about any number of things when we're talking about urban America and any number of topics when we're talking about this election season, but none is more important than education, especially in urban America and in the urban community, because an educated electorate is the only way that I see a free society and a free republic continuing on. It is impossible to have a free society and maintain a republic if you do not have an educated, thinking electorate. Otherwise, we are led by Madison Avenue, we are led by our feelings, we are led by our emotions, where facts and figures mean nothing and cannot be deciphered, and words cannot be deciphered because we don't know of their meanings or their history. Then we will always be at the mercy of those that do and those that can manipulate. So this is why having an educated electorate is important to fend off tyranny. So education is very important, and I don't think there's been a place that's more terrorized by tyranny than the urban corridor, than urban America, and a lot of it is because it seems like the left intentionally make sure that there are those in the urban community that cannot obtain, reach, have access to high quality education choices. That it seems that whatever new experiment, whatever new thought pattern, whatever new untested theories on education, the laboratory, the guinea pigs, for lack of better terms, have always been urban America. And they were able to disguise this education experimentation, by saying that we're getting money to the urban corridor, urban America, for education, when it's really all tied to these experiments that colleges and universities want to do, and the government wants to do. So it's easy to say, hey, listen, we know that you have failing schools, so how about if we initiate this program, as opposed to let's just do what the best private schools in America do. You know, that's the thing about education. Education, we already know as a society how to do it well. We know the things it takes to do it well. And we also know that it isn't just the amount of money that you put in per student. We already know that. So when the left and mainstream media continues to push the narrative that it's about the money that gets poured into education per student, we already know, because we have enough examples. We have enough examples to know that that is not it, that is not the main factor for quality education. We know that that's not the main factor. We know that. I mean, it isn't teacher salary. The unions would have you believe that is teacher salary, that a well-paid teacher is more likely to do their job than one that isn't. Well, we know that isn't true, because we see the success that private schools have and parochial schools have and even charter schools have with teachers who are not getting paid probably what they're worth. And we also see it in this, if you have a school district, and this is what's different about where I live than where most people live. Our school district is very, very big. 27 high schools, 50 middle schools, over 140 elementary schools, and all sorts of other types of educational experiences. So when you see what I see here, when you see schools that are in the urban corridor not succeeding, and you see schools that are in the suburban areas doing very well, those teachers are getting paid the same. As a matter of fact, some of the teachers in the urban community are actually getting paid more for teaching in the urban community. But they're not producing. So to say that it's just teacher salary or it's money is kind of ridiculous, because I have the experiment right here where I live that is not always the case. But mainstream media and the leftist Marxist media will continue to put that into the minds of the American public. And what's interesting, when I spent 15 years in the public education system here where I live, and it was always funny. Whenever there was a news story about an athlete getting a new contract and getting X millions of dollars, there were always a number of teachers who were just distraught by the fact that this professional athlete, was going to get $10 million a year to dunk a basketball or throw and or catch a football. And they would really be up, and some of them would really be upset about it. So much they were like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it. Oh, well. And my thought was, and I think I even said this once, which means, and I tell you, after I said it, and after you hear what I said, you'll understand that I did have to eat my lunch alone for a few days. I had to eat alone for a few days. I said, you know what? If we were as successful at what we do as Shaquille O'Neal is at what he does, maybe we would deserve the same sort of recompense. If we brought to the table for our constituency what Shaquille O'Neal brings to the table for his owners and their stockholders, then maybe we would deserve it. But the fact of the matter is that we don't. Now, there's a whole bunch of reasons why we don't. There's a whole bunch of obstacles to get over. And like Shaquille O'Neal, and I'm using Shaquille O'Neal as an example because at the time I think he was going to L.A. getting signed a $115 million contract or something. So when I said this, boy oh boy, and I tell you what, I knew that I was on my way out of the school system. I knew that I was on my way to having a new train of thought on a lot of issues, solidifying my conservative thought, my conservative values, becoming a more instinctual conservative. I knew that this was about to happen, because this is the first thought I had. If we were as successful as Shaquille O'Neal, and we were able to overcome the same obstacles that he was able to overcome, then maybe we would deserve something like he gets paid. But we haven't. You know what? And I tried to explain to this one woman. Here's the deal: Shaquille O'Neal not only can dunk a basketball. No, he can't shoot. At the time, he couldn't shoot free throws, but he could dunk a basketball and a 10-foot jumper. And had that thing where he got down on the block and he made that turn and that slam, and nobody in basketball could stop. But there were people actually trying to stop him from doing his job. There are people who are getting paid millions of dollars to stop him, and he was able to overcome anyway. And what he didn't do was whine about the lack of support he got from everybody else in the sport, that everybody else didn't just get out of his way and let him do his thing. He didn't whine about having to be under Phil Jackson's system. He didn't whine about maybe some of the other players on the team not holding up their weight or doing their job. He just went out there night after night and got his 30. Night after night and got his 30 and helped his team win championships. That's all. So if we had the same, so I said that if we had the same work ethic, if we had the same mental attitude, then maybe we would be deserving as educators of the same sort of adoration of the same sort of adoration that professional athletes get. And I was becoming instinctual conservative because I'm never going to be one to tell somebody how much money they can make. And I said, and again, this is another reason why another day I had to eat my lunch alone. I said there are people who think that we here in education make too much money. Work 9 months of the year, who work indoors. All you do is teach. You don't really do any hard work. I mean, and I said this is people's impression. Just like you have the impression that what's a professional athlete do? They play basketball. How hard is that? Well, it's their whole life. It's 24/7, 365, making sure you take care of your body every day, and you get over the pains, and you get over the aches, and you get over the injuries, and that you maintain a physical and mental focus to play at the highest level amongst the world's best athletes night after night. You know, that's a flippin' job. Not just like little Billy is late to class one more time and gave you attitude. And it kind of pissed you off. We're talking about professional athletes who go out there and lay their bodies on the line especially in basketball, night after night, while trying to maintain a mental clearness to be able to do their jobs. Yes, it's basketball. Yes, it's football. Yes, it's soccer. Yes, it's baseball. But to look at somebody else's chosen profession and say, well, they don't really do much. I don't think that's right. Just, I told the lady, and of course, another day of me eating lunch for myself is that the deal is very simple. That you don't think anybody else does anything. You think what you do is the most important thing ever. And you don't think anybody else does anything. Well, that's not true. Other people do stuff. And it matters. Another day of eating lunch alone. But it's okay. I wasn't long for that at that point, so it worked out well. And not that I don't think education is important, but I'm like Pastor, I went down a rabbit trail. But the deal is that it's not just about money, and other people, and there are people who are listening to this will try to tell you in a mainstream media will try to tell you it's about money. It's about how much money gets spent per student, when that's just not the case. It would be, I tell you what, it'd be great if that were the case, because then you would have a chance of fixing it. You would have a chance of fixing it. But the fact of the matter is that that's not it. It's not it. It'd be great. Now I'm going to give you some examples this morning about money spent on education when you compare them to graduation rates. And I can say graduation, I can. Because I think that's really important. Money spent per student and graduation rates. Because the idea is what? The idea is that the more money you spend, the higher quality of education you get. Many examples of why that narrative is dangerous and destructive, especially for urban America. We're going to take a little break. We'll be back with more of Fight Back right after these messages. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We'll be back right after this. Listen, this show would not be possible if it weren't for our affiliate partners. If it wasn't for people like Gary Knight at New Homes Tampa Bay. If it weren't like Kevin Batts at the RedRiverChronicle.com. So it is getting near the end of the month. So let's talk about the Red River Chronicle. The Red River Chronicle is a website that is full of fantastic conservative articles, conservative educational tools. I think that that's the coolest thing. Spent 15 years in teaching in the public school system, and you know what? These educational tools are something that you can use yourself, that you can use in a classroom setting, that you can direct students to, sort of on the sly. Because it's, frankly, I think the battle is just like that. If you're working in the public school system, and you're in a social studies classroom, I use social studies because it's the easiest transition. And a student comes to you and says, "Where do I learn more about conservatives?" Well, the very first place you should send them is not townhall.com, is not the Rush Limbaugh site, or even the Willie Lawson show necessarily. You need to send them right to the redriverchronicle.com. Articles written in a scholarly way, primarily information about Oklahoma and Texas, but from a very conservative standpoint. And you know what? Kevin Batts is black, so that helps your students because that throws away and destroys the left's picture of who's supposed to be conservative. So you can also, on that site, that student will have access to Hillsdale College lectures, which I think are invaluable. Absolutely invaluable. And there's also an app that they can purchase. I did. It's all of 99 cents. I purchased it. It keeps you up to date with what's going on the redriverchronicle.com website. That's the redriverchronicle.com website. The finest in conservative information and education. Information is crucial when you're looking to purchase a new home. With so many choices of communities and options, choosing the right one for you and your family can be a daunting task. That's why you need to go to New Homes of Tampa Bay right now, www.newhomestpa.com, and get the information you need. Learn how people save thousands of dollars when purchasing new homes. Buy like the pros. New Homes Tampa Bay, www.newhomestpa.com. You're tired of the cold? You're tired of the taxes? It's time to move to Florida. And our friend Gary Knight at New Homes of Tampa Bay is the perfect person to help you. You can just give Gary a call at 813-770-9452, or you can go to the website to look for your brand new home at www.newhomestpa.com. Move to Florida. It's about time. It's all the rage to call and order flowers from 1-800-whatever, or go online and order them from some nameless, faceless person on the other end. I'm saying you should do something different. You should, before doing that, call my friends at Blooming Days Flower Shop, located right here in Tampa, Florida, at 11618 North Florida Avenue, 33612. Christine and her staff don't look at just the order. They look at the customer. They look at your occasion. They consider the entire person, the entire occasion, before making decisions about design and price. You're more than just a customer. You're a friend. Call our friends at Blooming Days Flower Shop, toll free, at 1-800-330-3297. 1-800-330-3297. Local, 813-971-3600. 5947. 813-971-5947. You can reach them on the web at www.bloomingdays.com. All right, we're back with more of Fight Back. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is the Fight Back program, the flagship program for Fight Back Media Group. This morning's topic is education. It is so important to have a robust education system that serves urban America for so long. And frankly, my opinion, and this is just my opinion, and you will have a different opinion. There's only one problem with your opinion. If it differs from mine, it's wrong. And that's the only problem with your opinion. The only problem with your opinion is that if it differs from mine, then it's wrong. I know, I'm a jerk. But the deal is that what we don't want to talk about, what we don't want to look at, is that the education in urban America started to tilt downward after forced busing and integration. Now, I'm not a person I'm not the separatist. I'm not looking, frankly, for continued, racial division everywhere. As a matter of fact, just the opposite. But what I've learned in my 56 years is that the more you force, and we even called it forced busing, that you force an entity into compliance, the more there are unintended consequences. And I think that that's what we're seeing when it comes to education in urban America. It is obvious, it is apparent that education is not a priority in urban America anymore. Now, there are a ton of cultural reasons why that is. Probably too many to even go over. In this format and this kind of show, but there's definitely some sleight of hand being played by mainstream media and the left about why our educational systems in urban America continue to slide down the hill, while the same sliding isn't happening in other places. Now, they tell you it's about the money. They want you to believe it's about the money, and I'll tell you why they want you to believe it's about the money. They want you to believe it's about the money in order to further their other agendas. We did a show last night, and I was saying, there's so many protests, and there's so many things that urban America gets jacked up about that don't have really anything to do with them. They're being used as pawns. They're being used for photo ops. Urban America is being used to be the front for a lot of other leftist Marxist agendas that really don't have anything to do with what's going on in urban America. And one of the narratives is about money. The more money that you spend, in a school district, the better that school district is going to be. Well, what we know is that just isn't true. Let's just use one measure here that in high school is, I think, a pretty important measure that the left uses all the time is graduation rates. Let's look at graduation rates. Let's look at let's make sure that I can get the right numbers. All right. These numbers are from governing.com, a website that goes through and looks at all of government's numbers. They look at all of their matrices and comes out with charts and graphs full of facts and figures and stuff. President doesn't want you to look at facts and figures and stuff. But graduation rates vary greatly from by state and race. Nationwide, black students graduated at a rate of 69%. Hispanics graduated at a rate of 73%, while whites graduated at a rate of 86%. 69%. 3 out of every 10 black students don't graduate from high school. Even as much as we talk about lower standards, we talk about how much people don't know when they got out of high school as opposed to what they knew 20 years ago. Even with the bar lowered, still, 3 out of 10 don't graduate from high school. And it's higher amongst boys. It's 4 out of 10 don't graduate from high school among African American boys. Let's look at highest graduation rates in the country. Let's do that. It is the state, and this is from 2011-2012, a 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rates for public high schools by student race and ethnicity. All right. The state with the highest graduation rates in the country in 2011-2012 was Iowa. A total of 89% of their students graduated from high school. 91% of whites in Iowa graduated from high school. 91%. 77% of Hispanics graduated from high school, and 74% of black students graduated from high school, and 89% of Asian and Pacific Islanders graduated from high school in Iowa. This is one of those places where, in the Midwest, where more white people graduate from high school than Asian people. Same in Nebraska, at 89% total. 91% of whites graduated from high school in 2011-2012. In Nebraska, 78% Hispanics, 74% blacks, 83% of Asian and Pacific Islanders. That's Iowa and Nebraska. Now, let's look. I want to look at money spent in Iowa and Nebraska. Now, let me go down this chart. I'm going down this chart. Iowa, in 2011, spent $321 per student. $10,321. Nebraska. Let's see if I can find Nebraska on this chart. Some of these places will report and others won't, and that's fine. States can choose whatever they want to do as far as I'm concerned. And I'm looking for a Nebraska number. Do we have Nebraska's number? I don't think we have Nebraska's numbers, but we do have the Iowa number. The Iowa number is $10,321 per student. While New York, and the District of Columbia, New York spent $20,076, nearly twice the amount. Let's look at their graduation rates in 2011-2012. Let's look at where New York is. New York State. I'm still scrolling. 77% of New York youngsters graduated from high school in 2011-2012 school year. 77. 87% of the whites did. 63% of black and Hispanics did. The only place where they're the same. While 86% of Asian and Pacific Islanders graduate from high school, 63%, almost 4 in 10 of his black and brown children did not graduate from high school in New York when they spent the most money per student in 2011-12 school year. Please explain to me. Please explain to me how that's possible. They spent the most money. They should have done better. They should have had the highest graduation rate. They should have done better by the matrix that we hear from mainstream media. Why is that not the case? Maybe, like the Grinch found out, maybe education is just a little bit more. So when liberal politicians show up at your door at your church talking about spending more money for education, what you'll be able to say to them is, it isn't all about the money, is it? And the thing is, they know that. They already know that. I'm not digging up some facts out of some weird archive somewhere. They already know that it is not just about the money. They keep pushing that narrative because they want to continue to push the narrative, a couple of narratives, that the inner city kids are helpless, inner city families are helpless, and need the help of the Marxist liberal machine to continue to soak and take from the producers, because it is the people in the suburbs that are obviously causing this problem by all the time making damn sure that a family in urban America does not get the opportunity to choose where their children go to school, because these same politicians, the same media are beholden to the teachers' unions. They are beholden to the teachers' unions. Why? Because the teachers' unions continue to protect their crappy teachers and their crappy principals in order to maintain their what? Their power, their position, and their prosperity. The game is rigged against the urban American student. It is rigged. They are set up. They are pawns in this, and there isn't any way that the current system is going to allow them to, en masse, to be successful. Now, you can always find the outlier, the one or two kids that manage to, and by the grace of God, manage to fight their way through the fog and the mist and the gunk and the mess, and obtain at a high level anyway, despite all the roadblocks that are placed before them. Of course, that is always true, and you can pull those examples out. But unfortunately, those are the exceptions. Just because somebody gets down the road that you have blocked off and you have put landmines in, or across the field that is laden with landmines, it doesn't mean that there aren't landmines there. Just because somebody has been able to navigate them doesn't mean that there aren't landmines there. And this education system, especially for urban America, is laden with landmines, laid by everybody who's benefiting from the process. The school boards, the teachers' unions, the politicians, the leftist Marxist systems that are hell-bent on making sure that they always have two things: workers, uneducated workers, and uneducated consumers. They need people to work and buy their product. The last thing is that the machine needs is an educated, enlightened electorate that will vote for their best interest. and in their best interest. That's the last thing that the machine needs. The machine is not interested in making sure that people can think for themselves and make their own decisions and decide to be self-sufficient. The machine, the liberal machine, needs and has invoked the use of mainstream media to convince urban America that they are lacking and dependent. So they continue to push that narrative that they are dependent by making damn sure that if these people don't ever really get a real education, that they never really get an education outside of the indoctrination that mainstream media and the left have planned for them. And I know that that's a horrifically terrible, cynical viewpoint. And people will tell, and people will say, "There's no way you believe that you really believe that." Well, from what I've seen, I believe it. I believe it like I'm sitting here. I believe it like I'm fat. Yes, I do believe it. And I don't believe, frankly, it's getting any better. I believe that it's getting worse. And unless somebody is willing to stand up and mention it out loud and fight back against the narrative, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Which is why we're here at Fight Back Media Group. That's why we need your help. We've got some projects to do. We're going to start with safety and economics and education, bringing people in around the country to have workshops and symposiums to talk about these issues with urban leaders and urban stakeholders. We're going to change America. We're going to have these conversations that the media keep saying that we ought to have. We're going to change America. No doubt, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to change America. All right, listen, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back with more of Fight Back right after these messages. Nothing fits a home perfectly than a brand new grand piano. And if you're looking for a piano for your brand new home, you've got to visit Dave's Piano. And that's davespianoshowroom.com. If you're looking for the perfect thing to set off your new home, a piano is what you're looking for. And my friend Dave has the perfect piano for you. And the best thing about buying a piano from Dave is that he does everything. He delivers, he sets up, he tunes, he takes care of everything. The best part about Dave's Piano, quite frankly, is Dave. So when you buy a piano from Dave's Piano Showroom, you only deal with Dave. You can reach them at www.davespianoshowroom.com. That's davespianoshowroom.com. It's all the rage to call and order flowers from 1-800-whatever or go online and order them from some nameless, faceless person on the other end. I'm saying you should do something different. You should, before doing that, call my friends at Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, located right here in Tampa, Florida, at 11618 North Florida Avenue, 33612. Christine and her staff don't look at just the order. They look at the customer. They look at your occasion. They consider the entire person, the entire occasion, before making decisions about design and price. You're more than just a customer. You're a friend. Call our friends at Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, toll free at 1-800-330-3297. 1-800-330-3297. 3297. Local 813-971-5947. 813-971-5947. You can reach them on the web at www.bloomingdays.com. All right, welcome back to Fight Back. My name is Willie Lawson. This is the flagship program and the namesake program of Fight Back Media Group. You can reach us at www.fightbackmedia.com. If you like what we're saying, if you like what we're doing, if you like the people that we're trying to support, we're trying to change the media infrastructure. We're trying to bring down mainstream media and rebuild it to where mainstream media is as useful, as alive again. It's dedicated to the health and safety of America, not just their own power, position, and prosperity. We're making changes around the country. We're making changes right here on the internet. We're making changes right here. So if you want to get involved in that movement, just go to www.fightbackmedia.com and click the donate button. We appreciate all of your help. We're talking about education. I never want to do one of these shows and talk about the things that are wrong without trying to offer some solutions to make things better, to give you something to think about as you have conversation and discussion with people in your circle. I think that that's really important. One of the things that you hear most talked about when we're talking about schools is high stakes testing, because what we're really talking about is the beginning. What was the beginning of what they call what everybody refers to as Common Core. But let's talk about high stakes testing before we start getting into the politics of Common Core. High stakes testing, it's only high stakes. You have to listen. You always have to listen to the words. It's only high stakes testing because what's based on that testing is monies that go to certain school districts or to certain schools. That's the only reason why it's called high stakes. It's not called high stakes because a student who does not reach a standard may not graduate from high school, because that's already not happening. You see how they want to make you think that it's about the kid not graduating or the cute little 8-year-old who's in 3rd grade not going to 4th grade with all their friends, regardless if they can read or not, but their feelings may be hurt. It doesn't talk about the incompetence of teachers. It doesn't talk about the incompetence of administrators. It doesn't talk about the failure of those who need to be educating these children. It doesn't speak to that at all. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite. When you start talking about the so-called high-stakes testing, we start also in the very same in the conversation start talking about rewarding people who do a good job, and actually talking about something that that unions hate and school districts hate. It's called merit pay. It happens in the rest of the world. It happens everywhere else. You do your job above and beyond, and you get rewarded by your employer. The thing about and I'm gonna try. We're running out of time, but we're gonna try to get into a lot of the particulars. It's tough, but you get rewarded if you do a good job. Now, yes, it is easier to do a good job in some places, and this is everywhere. This is everywhere. It's easier to do a good job in some places than others. It's easier to be a top salesperson in New York City than it is in Des Moines, Iowa. See, it's easy if you're just talking about straight numbers, if you're just talking about straight dollars. It's much easier because you have a bigger pool of people, and everybody realizes that. So if you're a teacher who's teaching in a suburban school, where your population, your demographics are such that they have historically had high graduation rates. Yes, it's frankly, and because I've taught in both situations myself personally. Yes, it is a little easier. It is where the households value education, where there isn't the same level of crime, and there is a cultural difference. Yes, it is easier in some areas to do well with students than in areas that the culture is not pushing the importance of education. There is a higher crime rate. The unwed mom number is higher. The amount of free and reduced lunch is higher. Yes, those environments, it's tougher. It most, and you know what, and anybody who says that it's not tougher, they're either grossly uninformed or they're just flat out lying. They're just flat out lying. But there is a way to do merit pay and high stakes testing at the same time. Of course there is. But the unions don't want it because what will happen is people will want to keep more of their money and not give it to the unions. And the unions are not negotiating for merit pay. It is in the union's best interest to keep everybody the same. Because some people might get it. Some people might actually get it. And I don't understand why a whole bunch of educated people, college educated people, frankly, are not already not getting it and looking at what their unions are doing, not for them, but to them. They're creating in these bargaining agreements, they're not creating an open ceiling for earnings. They're cementing the ceiling. While they put a cement ceiling over them and told them that it was that they didn't have a ceiling, that it was or it was transparent, that the sky is the limit. When they have cemented a ceiling over their heads that said, you know what, this is what we've negotiated, and this is what you'll do. So a lot of these school districts and these teachers have two bosses. They have the bosses that are in their school district, and they have the union boss who have already decided this is what you can do. You won't do one thing more than this because we need everybody to stay in line. And who does that hurt? Well, it hurts the student. And what student does it hurt more? The student in urban schools. Which is why they're fighting. That's why unions fight like hell to make sure that ideas like school vouchers don't catch hold. And unions have these conversations with politicians because they can't go to the electorate and say, we don't want you to have the choice to send your children where you think is best. Because you can't sell that. You can't sell that to anybody. I want you to have less choice. They leave that up to the politicians that are bought and paid for. You go tell them, we're financing your campaign. You go tell them why having more choice, more educational choices for your children is a bad thing. You go tell them. We've paid you. You're bought and you're paid for. You're in our pocket. You tell them. That's what urban America is dealing with. Teachers who are working in the system know damn well that they can't make that argument because, frankly, a lot of them want the same choice for their own students. I tell you what, when I was working in the public school system in this area, for most of the time that my kid was in public school, was in school age, was private school education. He went to private school from kindergarten through 8th grade. So for most of my 15 years, 8 of them he was in private school. And I will tell you, there was some pressure put on me. There was some pressure put on me that my kid was that I was working in public school. I was getting my money. I was getting, my livelihood in public school, while my kid was in private school. And there were teachers who said, do you think this is how they put it to you. So do you think your kid's too good to be in public school? People ask me that. And I said that, me and his mother, me and my wife, had the ability to make whatever decisions that we want to make for my son's education. I am responsible for my kid's education. The teachers aren't. The school district isn't. The principal isn't. The school board members aren't. The politicians aren't. The leftist media isn't. It's me. I am responsible. I was responsible for my son's education. And this is the choice that we made. This is a choice based on what we thought was a better educational environment, was a better social environment, was a better spiritual environment. And we chose not to have a lot of stuff, to live where we lived. Yes. And made that choice. So this whole idea of the politicians having to go into these communities and tell urban America and urban moms and urban dads that, we don't want you to have that choice, that we're not for taking public money and giving to private entities. Although, good God, this is the hypocrisy. This is part that drives you crazy. That it is always the habit of liberals, leftists, and Marxists to funnel money and funnel funds from public coffers into the pockets of their friends on Wall Street, of their friends downtown. Those are the ones that get the contract to build this thing or that thing. These are the ones that get the contract to watch this endeavor or that endeavor. These are the people who get the contracts to consult for this project or that project, or this initiative or that initiative. Those are the consultant class. Those are the builders. Those are the people who always get public money for these things. So this whole idea that that the left and these people are trying to make sure that public money doesn't go to private entities, that's a bunch of crock. That's a bunch of nonsense. But what they're telling the American urban family is that we don't want you to have choice. We don't want you to be able to decide for your children where they go to school, what level of education they get. We want to make sure that whatever funds that you pay into the system are used right here where we tell you to. You just stay your black ass right here where we told you to go. And stop talking about it. I don't know when we went from Kunta Kinte to Toby, but we're definitely Toby when it comes to standing up for educational choices for our own children. When we know and we can see that there is a much larger agenda to make sure that our students, that our kids remain in the indoctrination centers they call public schools, that they continue to see and hear the leftist Marxist agenda on every single solitary important issue of the day, that they continue to hear the mantra of climate change. They continue to hear about the, quote, non-traditional family structures. That it's perfectly okay for Billy to have two moms or two dads or two moms and a dad or three dads and two moms, all of which used to be men. That every family structure is okay. That everything is okay. Right? Right? But we know that can't continue, right? Because it's what is continuing, frankly, I think, to make things more and more difficult in the urban corridor. That's what we know. They want our community to be the guinea pig for all of their all their social experimentation. Why they started at housing? Why stop there? Make sure you go to education, because that way you get to keep that block of voters in your pocket, not only for this election cycle, but generationally. It's more cynical than that. It's more cynical than just this election cycle. It's a generational thing. All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks again for coming today. We appreciate you showing up for the Fight Back Show. My name is Willie Lawson. This is the Fight Back Show, the program, the flagship program of fightbackmedia.com. And if you want to help us, if you like what we're saying, if you like what we're doing, you want to make sure that we can continue to do it and do more of it, go to fightbackmedia.com and click the donate button. We really appreciate it. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll talk to you when we see you. Bye-bye now.